Okay, so thank you everyone for attending. I'm calling this meeting to order at 5:32 p.m. I'll start with the territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional and ceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie nations. And ceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and we are currently situated on occupied territories. Start with a roll call. Please give when I call your position, please give your name, your pronouns, any access needs. And access needs are anything that you need to be able to allow you to engage more fully with the meeting, or if there's anything that would potentially prevent you from fully engaging, or if you have to leave. So for instance, you have to leave earlier if you have a noisy background, poor internet, things like that. Okay, I'll start. I'm the chair. My position is VP Internal Organizational Development. My name is Corbett. I am, pronouns are he, him, his, and access needs are met. Thank you. I'm going to Vice Chair, GSWS Counselor.
Hey everyone, my name is Devin, she, her, hers pronouns, and my access needs are met. Thanks.
Thank you. Ex officio President.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabe Leosis. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my access needs are met.
Thank you. VP Equity and Sustainability is not here. Marie Haddad, she is on a leave of absence. Sustainability and Energy Counselor.
Hello, my name is Mohammed Al-Shabu. My pronouns are he, him, his. All my accessibility needs are met. I have bad Wi-Fi, so my video is probably going to be off.
Okay, thank you for letting us know. Society staff, operational organization is not here. Policy Research and Community Affairs Coordinator.
Hello, my name is BT, pronoun she, her, has, access needs are met. I might leave early because of I'm in the sub alone. I don't know, you guys are in the sub, I guess, but in the staff area alone scares me. So I'll leave early, go home.
Thank you. And our administrative assistant.
Hi, my name is Christina. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move into 4.1 consent agenda. Be resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. Do I have any objections? There's one item in the consent agenda, matters arising from the minutes for the November 9th, for the July 27th meeting. So quick question, do I have any objection to us passing by this by consent? Seeing no objection, this passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll move on to section 5, adoption of the agenda. 5.1 motion reads, be resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Do I have a mover?
Devin moves.
Thank you, Devin. Do I have a seconder?
Gabe?
Thanks, Gabe. Discussion. Is there any amendments, changes to the agenda people would like to have? Actually, I will put one in, just double checking that it wasn't accidentally put on. Okay, yeah. I would like to add a discussion item called Council Half Months Policy. I sent an email out yesterday with a draft language. Any other amendments or no? Okay, I'll then move to amend the agenda. So I will move this motion. Do I have a seconder?
Devin second.
Thank you, Devin. Any comments on the item I've added, the council half months policy document for discussion item, rather? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on the amendment. All in favor, seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent or abstain, please use the Zoom raise hand feature and I will call on you to record your vote. Seeing none, this passes unanimously. Now move back to the main motion. All in favor of the agenda as amended, seeking unanimous consent. Again, if you would like to dissent or abstain, please use the Zoom raise hand feature, and I will call on you to record your vote. Seeing none, that is passed unanimously, carried unanimously. We move into discussion item 6.1, governance annual plan. This was submitted by myself, and we'll get into that topic. So we've had a couple meetings over the past where we talked about the governance annual plan. It's very well delayed because of AGM and other things, but I think we had gotten to the point where we had some items that we thought would be good, we had brainstormed some ideas and talked about some things. And give me 1 second, I'll bring it up and I'll share the screen. Sorry. Okay, yeah, 1 second. Okay, here it is. And I'll zoom in. Okay, so just to go over quickly again, so some of these items have been mapped out which committees, groups, and staff are responsible for different policies. Purpose of this is so that instead of having all the policies come through governance, certain groups should be more responsible for updating, reviewing, and updating. Some of these already exist, and certain types of policies, like finance policies, generally are reviewed by the finance committee. We could have equity-focused policies, issues policies, reviewed by relevant, like BIPOC and equity and sustainability committee and others. So we just need to develop a schedule for policy review. I believe BD will be able to talk a bit about this. I believe she's doing some work on that. Then there was regular spring and fall referendums. We didn't get a fall referendum in place in time, but we have a spring one coming up. So we just have to make sure that we have a discussion at governance as well as exec and council to talk about referendum items that could be approved for students to go up to students for vote. I've already put on them both on council discussion tomorrow for referendums as well as exec meeting on the 15th. So that's already kind of started on the annual plan. Ideally, we want to also encourage or develop some kind of process to make sure a fall referendum regularly happens, whether it's before an AGM in tandem with an AGM or whatnot, based on what's allowed in our bylaws. But we do want to we've been kind of using the AGM as a way to, one, give people reason to attend and vote on something meaningful, but referendums, like things like fee changes, would definitely, if you want to do in the fall instead of spring, that's the only way we can do it. We couldn't do it at an annual general meeting. So accessible online archive. This is where our membership can easily access past records, past decisions, easily on demand at 3 a.m. if they want, as opposed to go through a staff member or have to go physically look at it yourself. To be more accessible and more appropriate for student needs and times. That still needs a lot of work. That hasn't been started yet, but it's something that's pretty important. Student leadership training, we've already started more comprehensively with the council development sessions. We'd also like to have something more tied into committees, and I believe I'll be talking with a few of the committee chairs like UAA and ECA about dedicated training, because they do have funds in their line items for the committees, but they haven't necessarily used them yet. So, but we also need to do some consultation with equity seeking groups, both like our constituency groups as well as, yeah, basically constituency groups specifically. Jess wanted us to work on an issues policy regarding exec support. I believe it's like mental health areas, bullying, harassment, assault policies. That could be worked on outside of governance, but then brought back for comment. We did realize it would require working with like our legal advisors, as well as doing a lot of consultation with our equity seeking groups. Also, just mentioned that our standard operating procedures for FNSA, Black Student Support Center, accessibility coordinators, and our campaigns person doesn't have standard operating policies yet, procedures yet. So we need some specialized work on that. That's also very important to work on. We'll add that to the list. Dev, you had suggested or submitted looking at exec duties in bylaw 4 to see if they need to be reduced or increased depending on hours being completed as relates to leave, work balance, and such. Very much so. We've created the LOA policies to help with this. But I honestly think one thing I've mentioned in the past was I think it's what's missing also in the duties is not so much the positional role requirements, but also the general what it is to be an executive is missing in either the bylaws or in our policies. Like what's the general exec requirements? So like, things like being on hiring committees, being on more than 2 committees, chairing more, or being part of the working group, or all these other kinds of extra duties you're expected to take on. So at the very least, like creating something like even like a exec SOP would be a good first start, and that would be something that can be done quickly because obviously if we want to change a bylaw, we probably don't have time yet to do it. But we can start with like some standard operating procedures and policies, I think would work. Policy review and analysis policy and processes. Unfortunately, we don't have time, I don't think, for this. As much as this is like something I really, really wanted us to do, maybe we can get it started in some basic structure of like, how do we review, or some definition, how do we review policy? How do we analyze it? How do we know it's working? But I don't think we'll get time to lay like a good framework down or develop a good framework. But I think maybe some spring discussions will be really useful. Reviewing SOPs, timeline tracking, what happens if our policy staff member is vacant. So, because like there's definitely specific types of work that needs to be done. So what's the backup for that? That's definitely important. And so this, some of the stuff is I think is just generally repeat or just general review that should happen throughout each year. I think because we basically the first 6 months we weren't able to meet or do much. I think for the most part, us trying to set schedules for the next year's governance committee and recommendations will be really helpful, because then they can get going and they don't have to like reinvent the wheel. As well as having a governance committee training, at least having some, say on policy development or review, and how to train other committees on the above. So maybe we can get something like that developed in the spring, but it might be more of a general training. So we'll have to clean some of this up, but there's definitely some things because we just don't have time. I don't think we'll reasonably get some of this stuff done. We'll have to do our best to get some of these items in. Like some of these we can also, like, accessible online archive, we just basically have to set standards and then we give that to our board organizer, and they would work on that with staff to get everything set up, and then we would just review it. So that's something that is not so much like something we have to manually do ourselves. It's just it's more of a, we decide what should be public and what shouldn't be based on legal and our bylaws and things like that. Like for instance, we can't put in things like HR stuff online publicly, right? But anything, I think any agreements that we pass, I think anything that basically goes in our minutes should be accessible online and in our documents for further reading. Definitely student leadership training can definitely happen because it's already in a process. We've already worked on it, so it's just finishing up and having something more written down and something more like an actual policy. We do have actually policies in our orientation training policies that actually talk about some stuff related to council training, but we should put in a little bit. We can actually add new policies around or work on new policies around like committee training and student at large training related to our committees and stuff. So I definitely feel that we can definitely get that done. We can definitely get the spring referendum part done. And I think we can map out a schedule for policy review and SOP review. Definitely. And sorry, I talked a lot. Is there any questions or comments? Beatty? Or Devin first, because you're a committee member.
Oh, I guess have a question about the referendum. And so if we were to change anything within council policies, does that have to go through a referendum, or can that just go through council? And is it the bylaws that then have to go through a referendum, or the AGM? Just clarification on
that. You can actually, through referendum, bylaws can only be changed through referendum or a special general meeting or annual general meeting, like a members meeting. They can also do the same thing for policy. They can change and add policy as well. So if we wanted to have a policy changed, we could do it through referendum. I don't know why, unless if it's a policy that's basically like a 50-50 split, that council can't come to a decision on, then then it could go to referendum. But Gabe, go ahead.
I was just going to say a reason why you would want to do a policy establishment through a referendum or an AGM is that council actually can't change that policy unless it's voted on by the members again through a referendum or an AGM. So like, I don't know, maybe there's an issues policy down the road that we would want to be protected even more than it is now. You might want to have the members vote on that. In a referendum. We can see your messages, Corbett.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about that. I'm sharing the screen, not the.
Yeah, in a referendum or at an AGM, because that policy has been voted on by the members, it's binding on the society, and council alone can't change it. So that could be one reason as well.
Okay, I'm gonna reshare properly. That was weird. The share muted me somehow. Okay, so I was going to say, is there any question? Devin, you listed yourself again?
Yeah, I guess be more specific. If I know that Jess suggested some like bullying harassment policy. So if we were to develop some bullying harassment policy, would that have to be part of the spring referendum, or could we pass that in council?
No, you can pass it at council.
Okay, cool. Just
But
wanted
if you
to-
wanted for some reason that it's more stronger protected, then you could do it through referendum.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Okay. BD, you had listed or raise your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on some few stuff before I leave. The one on records, archiving records, I just wanted to point out that Sarah had started and she had briefed me on that. And also to point out that I recently attended the society amendment workshop, how that will have some of the few amendments that will be affecting societies. And one of them was record keeper. So as a society, we should be clear who is the record keeper. I have the hard copies of most of our records in my office, and Sarah had started digitalizing these hard copies into the shared drive. So I think I'll be having a meeting with you, Corbett, on some of the society amendments, so we can talk more about this, but we should have a record keeper. This is because if the society reason decides to dissolve, then the record keeper will be accountable for these records. So that's how I just wanted to give a quick comment on that. The second one is the SOP reviews. So currently I'm receiving SOPs from staff. I'd requested early, I think it's in August, for staff to start working and revise the side. So once that is done, I'll hand it over to the executive committee, but I don't have much so far. One challenge that I also wanted to seek your advice on is that we have new staff, like new staff position. We don't have SOPs, and for them to have SOPs, they have to be guided with policies, and most of these SOPs are guided by issue policies. So we might want to also prioritize the policies that we want to work on first, given that some stuff like the Black Student Coordinator, Student Advocacy Center as well, they have their SOPs, but they still need to be developed with the guidance of a policy. And then policy review, I have various templates, for example, the bullying and harassment policy. So there's a template of policy proposal that I can share once we decide to go ahead with that, so that people can use that template to guide their proposal. And yeah, that's it from my side. If you have any question, just let me know in case after I've left the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the update. Do you have to leave right now, or because the next item was something you submitted, the policy reviews and issues policy development?
Yeah, that's what I just commented on.
Oh, okay.
That I was requesting if we can prioritize for staff that like society has never had these
Sure.
positions. I think I also submitted something on privacy, right?
I didn't get it.
It was in the document that you shared, PIPA.
Oh, yeah, that was as part of reviewing PIPA and just making sure we're compliant with it.
Yeah, so the BC government provides training. I could do the training, but it makes more sense if we have more staff, because it looks like they provide a group training. So I can also share that link with the team and then decide if you want to, which staff should have the training. So of course, the record keeper, any staff that is involved with any information for members, something like that, the executive. So it's a very good training, but I think they can't offer it for, that's what I'm trying to say. So I'll share the link, and then after that training, we can now continue to develop our own privacy policy, or to make sure that all the departments are in line with the people act as a society. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Okay. And anything else? Any other comments or questions for BD before she heads out? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for all that. I'll definitely get back to you, and I'll let you know if there's any additional questions or comments to loop you in after for the rest of the meeting. And also you can watch the recording as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I also wanted to just thank everyone for the support they provided in AGM and for the support you give to staff. It's a very hard times because of a lot's going on, but you're all providing very good leadership. I just wanted to appreciate the team. See you next time. Okay, thank you very much. I want to move on to 6.3, the half hours policy. So I'll share the screen again and see if this works properly. Okay, pause and audio share. Oh, that's why it wasn't working. Okay. So everyone can see the screen, right? It shows, it's just two simple policies. I'll zoom in. Okay, so some background on this. For a while, you may have heard myself mention that things like, you know, August and December and April are half months, right? Half hours. And that was an existing policy back in 2015, and I thought it actually had been removed and later that year, that board year. But I thought it actually had still existed. Past executives thought it still existed. It became, I think, more of a practice than it was an actual thing, because they had then in spring 2016 they removed, or no, it's summer 2015. The board removed any of the hour requirements, the whole 10 hours, 30 hours, 15 hours, whatever it was. They removed it, that whole policy. So then half hours weren't necessary, I guess. But it was more of a practice of like only working because, you know, the last month of each term is during finals and such, that, you know, an expectation to be able to not ever have to commit as much time is reasonable, so you can focus on finals. However, since that was pulled out, we didn't actually put it back in the governance restructuring last summer, last year. We thought we had, but that was a miss on our part. And so we've noticed this was an issue in the summer when Devin brought it up as OCO chair about like why certain people had only done about half that, why some execs had only done half hours. And we, like I said, we had thought this was a policy existed. And so now that the LOA policies have been put in place, approved by council, I thought it'd be good to bring this to governance to see, do we want to we should put these other policies back in. And so what I did is I tracked down the policies from 2015, copied it over, updated it for our current policy documents and the hours that we have listed for non-executive counselors and executive counselors, and put it in bold, and which is where they be at, like R2 2.5, sorry, and 6, and then R 3.6. Basically, for non-exec counselors, for the months of April, August, and December, you don't have to be working half hours, so 5 hours per period, without affecting your stipend allocation, so you still get the same amount of funds. And for executives, it's same 3 months, but and a half hours as well, so down from 60 to 30 for the pay period. So any questions, comments, or concerns? Did I miss anything? Because my idea is if governance has no real issues with this, we can
either amend the agenda, make a motion, or we can, ideally I like to get us as a notice of motion at tomorrow's meeting if possible. Even though it's short staff, but it's a short time, but it's also a relatively simple motion, policy change. But I wanted to give governance first look at it. Gabe, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm in favor of this. I mean, I think we were all kind of caught off guard when we realized that it wasn't actually in the policy when we thought it was, because it was a policy for, gosh, I don't know how many years. And then in the last restructuring, it just got taken out as an oversight and then was never put back in. So I think it makes sense. Whether or not, you know, executives actually are able to take half hours during this time is another thing. I found it really difficult to try and bring down my hours the last semester, even though, you know, well, at least we thought that it was there. So yeah, just to say I'm in favor, but I also think we should, maybe this isn't a policy conversation, but maybe more of a work strategy discussion around how we can encourage and incentivize executive officers to actually bring down their hours to half hours during this time, and figuring out ways we can actually do that in practice. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Gabe. Any other questions or comments or concerns?
I listed myself if.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see. Sorry,
That's
didn't see
okay.
that. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask, so if we made this a notice of motion at tomorrow's meeting, then I guess it would be voted on November 24th, I believe it is. Is that realistic enough for then the policy to be used in the December month? Or like the first 2 weeks of December?
Potentially, yeah,
Okay.
because it would be voted in and applied to the policy. It'd be approved by the council, and it could take effect right away. And so it could be it could affect for December. Yeah. And then not just for execs, but all for our counselors in general, all counselors.
I was going to say, because if we don't have a council meeting in December, hours are probably going to be down anyway. So that would make sense for that period of time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that actually makes sense too, from the sense of like just not having as many meetings during those months anyways, because of finals. Like I remember in summer, I really did want to have less meetings for everyone, or shorter meetings at the very least. I think I forget, in August, did we have shorter meetings for the last two, or is it we still had some long ones because that was related to the common room appointment, can't think of the word, it starts with an A. Allocation. Thank you very much, just came to me. I keep wanting to say appointment, but that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so yeah, ideally, I think if we also have this policy where we're kind of expecting people to take half hours, it also encourages things like not holding as many meetings, it can go into tie into, like Gabe mentioned, with the strategy of like, okay, everyone, we're on half hours, you know, because you need to focus on finals. Try to reduce the amount of meetings you're running. Maybe try to don't submit as much work during council meetings and exec meetings and stuff for during this month. Just see what you can hold off for the spring and stuff, or for the next term. So yeah, I think it'll help us start having a conversation about strategy as well for trying to reduce people's hours. Does the committee feel comfortable with switching to a motion to recommend this to council? Yeah. Okay, I will move to amend the motion, amend the agenda with the following motion. Actually, I don't even have it. Okay, so basically it's something like, whereas Whereas past council policies included a reduction in expected hours without a reduction in stipend for each last month of each term to accommodate final exams and projects for members, for council members. Whereas these policies were removed in 2015. Whereas the last year's governance.
2015?
Yeah, it was
2019.
2015. No, it was 2015. Actually, they removed it.
Are you sure? I thought they were in the board policies before we revamped them in 2020.
No, when I looked at through, that's what I thought too. And I looked at them, I didn't find them because because when you remove the hours, there was a different language, and with the language around it was something along the lines of the VP Finance can adjust stipends during the last month of each term. Same idea, but it was because we didn't have, because they removed all the hours requirements. So
okay.
Sorry.
So
whereas, yes, sorry, it was train of thought. So yeah, whereas the board in 2015 removed those policies along with expected hours, whereas in 2020 the board brought back policies that had expected hours of contribution for executive and board members. Be it resolved to add the following motions. Be it resolved to recommend to council to accept the following policy changes as laid out in council stipend policies half hours document. Thank you very much for typing that out for me, Gabe.
you're welcome.
Okay, so I'll do that all in one length for a proper motion. So I'll start again. I move to amend the agenda to include the following motion, read out as, titled half hours policy. Whereas past council policies included a reduction in expected hours without a reduction in stipend for the last month of each term to accommodate final exams and projects for council members. Whereas these policies were removed from the policies in 2015 along with the expected hours. Whereas in 2020, the board of directors brought back policies around expected hours for executives and board members to meet semi-monthly, to be met semi-monthly. Be it resolved to recommend to council to adopt the following policy changes as outlined in council stipend policies half hours document as attached. Do I have I move that. Do I have a seconder?
Devin, second.
Thank you, Devin. Discussion. We've discussed this a lot already in the discussion item, but just one last chance for anyone to raise up questions or comments, concerns on this amendment. No, seeing none, move to a vote. All in favor, seeking unanimous consent. If you would like to dissent or abstain, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom, and I will call on you to record your vote. Seeing none, this passes unanimously. So we'll move back to the agenda as amended. Going through the motion again. I'm not going to read out the full work as cause. I'll just move to be it resolved to recommend to council to adopt the following policy changes as outlined in council stipend policies half hours document as attached. Can we just go right to a vote, right, Gabe?
No, you need a mover and a seconder for this.
Thank you. That's what I thought. Okay. Do I have a mover?
I can move.
Okay, Gabe, thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Devin, second.
Thank you, Devin. Any discussion on this motion? No? Okay, I'll move to a vote. All in favor, seeking unanimous consent. If you would like to dissent or abstain, please unmute your, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom, and I will call on you to record your vote. Seeing none, and that vote carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And I believe that is the last item on our agenda for today, which means we will move into adjournment. 7.1, the motion reads, be resolved to adjourn the meeting at 6:12 p.m. Do I have a mover?
Devin, move.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Gabe?
Thank you, Gabe. All in favor, seeking unanimous consent. If you would like to dissent or abstain, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom, and I will call on you to record your vote. Seeing none, that is carried. Thank you very much for attending, everyone. I hope you have a good rest of your night, and see many of you tomorrow at council.
Hey, Corbett.
Yeah.
Can
Oh, one
you
second. Do you
send
want me to
me-
stop?
Oh, sorry.